What's cracking, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. Today we'll be breaking down our final bets for this week's Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth, Texas, where I'm fortunate enough to be boots on the ground. As always, I'm Jack Bushman, joined by my partner in crime, Joey Riccado. Make sure to go and give him a follow on X at Joey Knows Nothing. You can find me at Jack Bushman too. Show some love to the show's page as well at On Tap Golf. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you may be listening to your podcast. That way, if you miss a show, if you miss us going live talking about our final bets like we're doing here today, you'll still be able to catch up and tail us, hopefully, on some winning tickets here this week. Because, Joey, man, it has been a stretch of close calls for the both of us. Last week, the PGA Championship, we had guys in the race going into Sunday. I had Bryson DeChambeau. You had Colin Morikawa. Unfortunately, neither wound up cashing for us. Xander Schauffele obviously broke through for his first PGA Championship, but I do still feel like I've been on the right track here and I'm on something real soon. And Texas has been going well for me. Both of my winners so far this year have come in the state of Texas, so hopefully I'll be able to keep the ball rolling there. But how you doing here on this Wednesday night, brother, ahead of the tournament?
I'm great, man. Yeah, you are in attendance. You will be in attendance. So, of course, that means that your outright is going to hit again in Texas this week. Fingers crossed there. But I've got it in my name tag. Yeah, knock on wood. I've got it in my name tag. Outright, please, because, dude, it just feels like it's been a hot minute. And I don't understand it. I mean, yeah, Morikawa, I think you mentioned this last week. It feels like I do get his weeks right when I'm on him. But just what are you doing, man? Like, he could not make a birdie at all to save his life in the fourth or in the final round. It's just so frustrating. He had so many ample opportunities to actually close in and just make a little bit of noise. And it's like, I get it. I would have thought though that we just needed Scotty Scheffler to get his caddy out of there at the third round to finally not see him at 1 or 2 in a tournament, especially a major. But yeah, it was a good week. It was a fun week. Bryson, obviously you had that right there, and I was pulling for you, man. And I'm really happy for Xander, for the X-Man. I really am. But and we kind of dogged him on the show last week, like a little bit, his price and just who he was compared to, and just didn't think, because he hadn't been able to close, and he was able to close it. I was very impressed with that, especially on the 18th, because that could have easily went sideways, even though, it's definitely a very makeable birdie situation on the 18th. But we could have seen that go a different way for especially for Xander. So super happy for him. Bryson obviously treated me well in the one and done. You didn't do terrible there either. I was going to ask you, I forgot to do this pre-show. Were we making those double points, or are we not doing that?
Yeah, all majors and the playoffs at the end will be double points. So I think I don't have the slip on me. I didn't take it with me to Texas here, but I believe you. So Bryson finished second, obviously. Man, he was electric on Sunday. The fist pumps, the long putts, the chip in on 18, dude. The game's better with Bryson playing well, Bryson in contention. It was just a reminder that we need him back. But yeah, I've been so close these last few weeks, man. I got a fly going on in here that's driving me nuts, by the way. Been close these last few weeks with obviously Bryson down the stretch there. I had Benny on, who was never really in contention, but played super well at Wells Fargo. Jake Knapp at the Byron Nelson. So, yeah, man, we've been having a lot of close calls. Unfortunate for you, Colin Morikawa just literally couldn't make anything outside of 5 feet on Sunday. I think he made 33 feet of putts total. So, yeah, I feel for you, brother. Unfortunately, neither of us got the job done there. But yeah, hopefully riding some good momentum going into this week. It's actually a course where, as I told you before recording that, it was kind of the start of my golf fandom when golf resumed from the COVID pause in 2020. This was the first tournament that they had back. That's where it all began. So pretty cool to have everything kind of come full circle where I'll be in attendance there this week. And I also cashed Jason Kokrak here in 2021. So hoping to keep those vibes going at the Charles Schwab Challenge this week, Joey. But yeah, man, so close this week for both of us, dude. Sunday could have really gone our way, but Xander, like you said, he stepped up to the plate and really delivered. And it's not that I didn't believe he couldn't do it. It's just, as you referenced, being listed next to Brooks Koepka, having those 14-1 odds. It's like, I think Xander can do it, but I just can't back him comparatively when Brooks has done it 3 times. We saw him do it last year. We know him as a big game hunter. I think that was just kind of an easy sidetrack for a lot of people to tail. And for those out there who stuck true to Xander through all the poor Sundays, absolutely deserve a lot of congratulations. But yeah, man, hopefully we'll be able to get a winner this week. This is a tournament that's treated me well. I'm excited to be here. Vibes are high. Let's get a dub this week, bro.
Vibes are high. I'm with you, man. We're getting a W this week. And yeah, credit to the bookmakers, honestly, on that one. The 13-1 number that we saw last week, credit to the bookmakers who obviously they're a little bit smarter than all of us when it comes to this, but they got that one right. And when we misjudged that one, at least from a player perspective comparatively. But yeah, what are you going to do, man? You win some, you lose some. We've been not winning a lot lately, but I think we're going to get back and get off the schneid here. We need some more outrights to kind of keep up with our pace from last season. We did really well in the outright market last season, and this year it's not like we're horrible, but not as quite like we're just the close calls this year, Jack. So yeah, with that said, man, let's talk about it. We're back. Colonial Country Club. It's in Fort Worth, Texas. You are there. You will be there tomorrow. Charles Schwab Challenge. We have a par 70. Looks like 7,289 yards. Bent grass greens, Bermuda grass fairways, and rough. And then talked a little bit about past winners here. We got Emiliano Grillo, who won it last year in the playoff over Adam Schenk. Very, very tough situation there.
Hurts that we missed him, man. It hurts that we missed him there because he did show some signs of life coming in. That was a tough one to miss.
Well, and we are huge Emiliano Grillo guys.
Big time.
So the fact that, and he showed the signs. We just did not trust our eyes in that situation last year. But Sam Burns, the year before that, Kokrak, you mentioned, you got an outright on that in 2021. And then Daniel Berger, who started it all for you, which is pretty cool. And he's in the field here this year as well. So we're going to talk about him a little later on. Kevin Na 2019, Justin Rose 2018, Kevin Kisner in 17, and then Spieth in 2016, just to go down the list. But there's been some renovations here since last year, Jack. We got Gil Hans making some changes. So I want to hear your thoughts on this track before we dive into this 136 golfer field this week.
Yeah, Colonial Country Club, it's been a staple of the PGA Tour for a long time, longest running non-major tournament that's been played at the same venue every year since 1946. But as you mentioned, a little bit different this year. I would say it was a restoration, though. It wasn't really a renovation. Gil Hans wasn't making like huge, significant changes in terms of making this golf course play differently. In fact, he was kind of tasked with just bringing it back to its original roots and its original feel a little bit, while also making some necessary upgrades. A new irrigation system was implemented, and I think that's going to bring water into play at different points than we've seen at the in the past. I think there's going to be 6 holes with water hazards coming into play. The course is going to play 89 yards longer. The greens have been relocated in some spots. Some sand bunkers have been taken out of place, and then there's been new resodding of the entire course. You mentioned the Bermuda grass fairways. That's all brand new coming into this year. They started this restoration process literally right after the conclusion of last year's tournament. I also see that they're going to be bringing in the Barrancas into play on 9 holes as well, which I think is going to bring in a nice natural hazard for players. And I think that's kind of the key thing about this course and what makes it so tough, because Joey, when you go and look at this course compared to what we see week to week on the PGA Tour, it's usually one of the tougher tracks, man, especially if the Texas wind gust gets going, because this course is meant to play firm and fast. I think that's going to be more so true following this restoration process by Gil Hans. But we've seen the winning score be below 10 under par each of the last 2 years. Under minus 15 each of the last 5 years. And it's because there's these natural hazards, and it's not you have to have some skill around the greens. There's very small green complexes. The fairways are real tight here. Like, it's an accuracy golf course, but still rather long for a par 70, 7,289 yards, only two par fives. Long par threes here. They average over 200 yards. So I think approach is going to be really key this week, maybe even more so after this process, because I believe the greens are only going to play firmer and faster when it is dry and baked out. The question going into this week, Joey, is it's been projected to storm here like all day long. It's kind of held off a little bit here recently, but it's expected to thunderstorm tomorrow. So unfortunately, it's just been kind of a struggle all year for the PGA Tour. A lot of courses have just been playing soft, and that might be something that the players, get in the first couple of rounds, of course, playing soft, but it's also supposed to get up into like the high 90s, high of 95 on the weekend. So it's going to bake back out real quick, but approach play is going to be super key, I think. Total driving, long and accurate, especially when this is kind of a layup course in spots because of the dog legs. I think total driving is going to be important. Putting yourself in good spots in the fairway, leaving yourself with the right angle, total driving stuff is what I'm looking at. But I kind of also looked at all the approach buckets, Joey, because some shots, there's some short par fours where you're going to be hitting wedges into these greens. But what's also been interesting is looking at kind of like guys who have finished at the top of the leaderboards here in past years. They've also typically gained strokes with their long irons. And I think that's just them capitalizing on the two par fives here. One is over 615 yards. So it's a 3-shot hole. You're going to be hitting long shots up into that green. And then also the par threes all being like over 190, 200 yards. So you are still hitting some long iron shots. So I paid attention to all of the real key approach buckets: 125, 100 to 125, 125, 150, 150, 175, 175 to 200. I kind of looked at all that stuff. And then I'm also really paying attention to bent grass putting, because in the last 5 of the last 6 winners have finished in the top 8 in strokes gained putting for the week en route to victory here. You need to be capitalizing and making putts, because the greens are so small, and this is a lower winning score typically. So you can kind of separate yourself when you do take advantage of those opportunities. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Course history has also been a little bit sticky around this place. Obviously, we don't know how different it's going to play following this restoration yet, because we haven't seen it in a tournament yet. But I still expect it to play pretty similar. Like I said, Gil Hans wasn't brought in here to really make huge grand scale changes to this golf course. No, it's just kind of bringing it back to its roots, its true elements. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how it is going to play, and see how this bad boy looks in person tomorrow morning, Joey.
Yeah, man, a lot of great points there. I like that you did the breakdown of the yardage buckets. That was something that I did have a chance to check out at least one of your models there that you put together here, and I do like that distribution. I kind of focused a little bit more on the 125 to 175 range when I was doing research, but all of it, all those type of ranges make sense. It doesn't seem like this is going to be really like a bomb and gouge type of
No.
week. Just the greens and reg are down for this course normally. But it does seem like this is a very much a driving accuracy. You got to hit the fairways here.
Yep.
Question for you, and I agree too. The approach and putting is something that I think is absolutely needs to be looked at. Approach and putting is probably the most important here. Question for you: how is the wind, or like what do you think? I haven't really looked at any reports, but I feel like that could be a big issue, or make it a little bit more challenging here at this course.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up. I actually have just completely forgotten about the wind. I did hear, though, It is expected to be gusty throughout the week. I don't know the miles per hour off the top of my head, but I'll look it up here in a second. But I did want to reiterate, like, yeah, approach and putting is meaningful most weeks on the PGA Tour,
Right.
but it's more. It feels like it's more meaningful on this course. It correlates to success more at a track like Colonial, and like I said, it's actually 7 of the last 8 winners of this tournament have finished in the top 10 in strokes gained putting for the week, and 5 of the past 6 have finished in the top 8 in strokes gained approach. So those are just both heightened a lot this week. Driving, actually, as long as you're not like super wayward and putting yourself in like behind these trees or missing big, really is the big thing that's going to hurt you. Driving hasn't really been all that crucial. And then I do think you need to put some stock into bogey avoidance and chipping because these greens are so small. It's going to get baked out during the weekend. It's not going to play soft all week because the temperatures are really going to get up there, I believe. So at some point, you're going to have to be able to scramble and make a clutch par. So I do think that's important as well. That's stuff I've looked into. But yeah, approach, putting, super meaningful, and putting on bent grass in particular, I think is big as well. But yeah, I'm going to look up the wind finder right now to get into that.
Yeah. You do not want to be hitting it into that Bermuda rough. It does not seem like it's a good that's a good recipe for success here. So
You just, especially just big, just don't want to be missing big. So I
big,
know we
yeah.
kind of laughed at the stat last week. I didn't look into it as much this week as we did last week, and quite honestly, the course just ended up playing so differently than kind of
Very
I
easy.
believe. I believe as a whole, yeah, it was way easier than I thought. That's a conversation of its own. We talked about it on Monday on our recap show. But yeah, it kind of turned out differently. So that wound up not being kind of as important, but I did look into it for some guys this week. I got Windfinder up right now here, though. Thursday, it does look like it's supposed to storm, as I mentioned earlier. At 10 a.m., there's max gusts up to 23 miles an hour, so decently gusty. Friday is supposed to be really gusty, especially in the morning. Like early on, max gusts up to 30 between 7 to 10 a.m. So the morning wave on Friday might get hit real bad. Saturday, it looks like in the afternoon, it can get up to like 25 miles an hour. And then Sunday, it's going to be windy in the morning as well. So, yeah, wind could play a factor here. I wouldn't be surprised to see. I do think it'll play softer in the early rounds. So, a couple guys will probably go low. I wouldn't be surprised to see like minus 13 be the winning score, minus 12, minus 13.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking I'm thinking like minus 11 was my
Okay.
minus 10,
Yeah.
minus 11 is kind of what I'm thinking, but who knows with the changes here that were made, which weren't like
Exactly.
crazy. But yeah, we really don't know how this is going to play out. Yeah, Jack, what do you say, man? This is my favorite part of every week, diving in and trying to see if we can find a winner, which we've been really, really close, as we talked about at the top. I think it's only natural, man. You're there. You need it. You need it. I need it. So I'm hoping that you're on like some of the same golfers that I'm on this week. So
Let's
yeah,
find
what do you
out.
say, man? Let's dive
Yeah,
into it.
absolutely.
Top of the board, insane price. And I don't mean that in a good way. The boogeyman, the ex-con now, Scotty
Felon.
Scheffler, the felon. God, dude, I'm sure you guys talked about this on the last show. I was having so much fun at work just scrolling the feed because that morning I had to work, just scrolling X and finding the best content that I love when stuff like this happens, Jack, because there's always somebody bitching about something on social media. Always somebody bitching. But when this stuff happens, there was still some bitching. Like we know there's comments about, oh, is it gonna get thrown out? He shouldn't get thrown out. He should still have blah blah blah. But like, dude, the content was incredible. Shout out to all the creative people out there on social media who just got me freaking rolling for a good like 20 minutes while sitting at my desk at work.
Yeah, the internet was absolutely on fire on Friday morning. It was awesome. I think it's obviously an unfortunate situation for Scotty. I hope the charges wind up getting dropped. I don't know
Same.
if that's going to happen at this point. I feel like it should, but it's not how the world works. If the world ran on shoulds, Joey, it'd be a much better place out there. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was electric factory on X on Friday morning. The world was absolutely on fire. Think it's going to be good for the game of golf. Think it's going to be good for Scotty Scheffler.
Absolutely, dude. His popularity has only increased after this situation. So
For sure. For
I
sure.
love it. Love it. If that's what it took to build another like true superstar, like in the Brooks, Rory, Rom kind of mold, which we know he's the best golfer in the world right now. But like, if that's what it took, I'm fine with it, man. Cool. Let's have another one.
Absolutely. I
Um,
I purchased my free Scotty shirt immediately on Friday morning. I can't wait to get back home to Illinois and see that bad boy in the mail. I haven't checked. Yeah, I need to check the mail, by the way.
that's an
But let's
awesome
get
freaking
into
t-shirt. Yeah.
I'm still not betting Scotty Scheffler at 3-1 though. Can't
Yeah,
do
I'm
it.
not betting him at two to plus 260. I'm seeing right here, but yeah, 3-1, whatever the price is. I can't do it. Morikawa is 12-1. Max Homa is 20-1. Jordan Spieth 22-1. Tony Finau is 28-1. Which obviously these are not everywhere. We are on Odds Checker right now, and they are showing us the
Shop.
FanDuel and DraftKings books. So Jack, top of the board. Anybody kind of that you have your eye on here, or are you starting elsewhere?
Yeah, interesting top of the board. Obviously, Scotty's the best player in the world. We don't need to spend a lot of time talking about him. Maybe you could make an argument that 3-1 against this field is fair when he was 4.5-1 against what's considered to be the best field in golf at the PGA Championship. He's got great history here. Missed out on the playoff last year by 1 stroke and has a T2 in the year prior. Like, I'm definitely scared of him, but I'm just not going to get to it at that price. It's not what we're about. I'd have to put a lot of money on Scotty Scheffler to get the return I'd want. But out of those top four, Scheffler, Morikawa, Homa, Spieth, the one that enticed me the most was undoubtedly Colin Morikawa, man. I talked to you about this earlier on in the week. It's similar-ish vibes to what Xander was giving me going into last week. Obviously, Xander had been playing a lot better. Other than Scotty, he's been the most consistent player on the planet this year. Morikawa's been finding some form here really since the Masters. He's kind of been kicking it into gear. But just in terms of like coming off of a Sunday where it didn't go his way, we watched everyone else play good when basically everyone else played better than he did, who was in contention down the stretch there for the most part, didn't make any single putts the entire day. And now you give us 14-1 odds. People aren't going to be enticed by that. But like Colin Morikawa is getting close, undoubtedly, and wouldn't be surprised if he won within the next 4 events because his game is starting to get there. The putting and the short game improvements have been marvelous. Other than, what we saw on Sunday, his putting was really good for those first 3 days. The ball striking is starting to find his form. And this has been the biggest thing to me, Joey. I've talked to you about, and I felt this way going into Sunday, that I just didn't think Colin was truly there yet to win a tournament of that magnitude. While obviously this isn't a tournament of that magnitude, this field isn't as good. Like, I really was tempted by Colin Morikawa. Just that 14-1 price is so tough, but he's definitely the guy who I'm not betting this week that I'm scared of the most outside of Scotty Scheffler, who's known as the boogeyman. But I started my card at Tony Finau, 30-1, Joey. I feel like this is a really fair price for a player of his upside. I feel like this tournament maybe is on the verge of like being too good for Tony Finau to win, even though it's not really a good field, just historically when you look at his victories. But I'm willing to take a chance at 30-1. You can still find it Bet Rivers Enhanced. On Finau after he gained 9 strokes with his irons last week at the PGA Championship that led all players in the field by a comfortable margin. Off the tee, he's been relatively good this year, and he has a really good track record at Colonial. He's got a T4 and a T2 here within the last 4 years, and he's gained strokes putting on these greens in 5 of his 8 trips here. So yeah, he's good right now from all the approach buckets. The irons have been really good. Do I worry about the putter? Absolutely. Like, that's the concern with Tony Finau. Has been putting like trash all year long for the most part, but I just think his tee to green play, he's really good in total driving. I think his tee to green play is going to be so good that he's going to be getting more birdie opportunities than a lot of these guys. And if it does play, difficult and the winds pick up, I think that's going to be even more valuable. So I think Tony might, be able to miss a couple and still be able to hang around, considering I expect this to be a lower winning score. There's just so much upside there with the way that he's been striking the ball in a field like this. He's talented, really good course history, really good on long par threes as well. So yeah, I'm in on Finau at 30-1 to start off my card this week, Joey. What do you got up top?
I wish I could. Well, I can copy and paste my notes for Tony Finau this week and send them to you. It is almost exactly to a T of what you just described and what you just said. Tony Finau, 30-1. That's where I started my card as well this week. And the only thing I'll add to what you said, because I think you said it all perfectly, he finished T2 at the Texas Children's Houston Open just a few weeks ago. So
Should have
he's
won, by the
golfing.
way. Should have won. He missed like 2 putts within 5 feet on the back nine on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And trending in the right direction. Like you said, strokes gained leading the field last week at Valhalla. Really like Tony Finau here this week. Okay, let's keep it moving. I was surprised by this number, but I guess I understand it with the field. Harris English is 33-1, Brian Harmon 35, Siwoo Kim 35, Mr. Hoagie Buns is at 40-1. Then you have Min Woo Lee, Sepp Straka, and Sunjay Im all at 45-1. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. Couple of guys who I really had interest in here or still do. But Jack, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this range is really interesting. And Harris English, I think he opened at like 60-1 and he got absolutely smashed down. I didn't think it would be that much, though. I didn't think he'd be like the most popular pick out of anyone this week. I passed on him at 35-1. But yeah, this like 40 to 60 pocket right now is like where I'm kind of living. I nabbed most of these guys at pretty good numbers. I'll start things off here with Chaboy, Mr. Hoagie Buns. Got him at 55-1. Despite having not good course history here, actually, I just think this is a really good course for Tom Hoagie's makeup, especially with what he's doing right now with his irons. Believe it or not, like he's literally the best iron player in the world, not named Scotty Scheffler this year, second on tour in strokes gained approach. And he's gained over 3 strokes to the field with his irons in 11 of his 16 starts this year, Joe. He hasn't lost strokes in that category all year long. And he's got
Mr.
some good putting.
Wedges.
Yeah, he hits his wedges really good. Dude, all the proximity ranges. He rates out top 15 in my model in all of them. 11th in approach overall in the last 24 rounds, 13th in putting in the last 24. And like I said, he's second from 100 to 125, 10th from 150 to 175, 11th from 200 to 225, and 15th from 175 to 200. So all of his irons, he's dialed in with all of those right now. And I do think he has the putting upside as well to go along with it. So yeah, I'm just hoping he's not going to chip himself out of the tournament. That's kind of my concern because Mr. Hoagie Buns is pretty dog water around the greens. But the iron upside, the putting upside, it's all prevalent to me. I got him at 55-1. I think that's a fair number. A guy who went to TCU, which is literally right around the corner. I think it makes a lot of sense for Tom Hoagie.
I like the call a lot. You know how I feel about Hoagie. Always pretty interested there. I didn't bet him this week, but not to say that I had really any specific reason why. I just, you can only get so many on the card, and for this range, I felt like I had enough. So I really like that what you're saying too, that he fits a lot of that profile within those yardage buckets that you're shooting for. And yeah, I mean, strokes can approach. He seems to be popping even actually last season too. I mean, he was, at least towards the end of the year, I remember we kept bringing that up that he was, past 24 rounds, he's in the top 5, past 24 rounds, top 5. And then it just didn't really amount to too much. But he's absolutely somebody who can win this tournament. The guy who, I mentioned him pretty much at the beginning there, and I haven't bet him because of the number, but I do get the love for Harris English this week. I really do. The very good course history here at Colonial, one of the best in this field here this year at Colonial. Finished 12th at last year's event. He's been putting the lights out per usual. That's, not a surprise here with English, but very good for this course. Driving accuracy has been great. 19th on tour this year. I don't love the number, so that's where I just kind of got off of Harris English. The other guys here, so the 45, I got a better number on him, but Sepp, your boy, Seppi.
He's one of the guys I've been circling around thinking about with my last bet. My worry is and this is maybe some just irrational thing I'm thinking in my brain, but I swear every time he's like popular and makes sense, it doesn't go good. He's just one of those guys. Like he gives me those vibes. And there's a lot of people touting Sepp this week, which makes sense. Approach has been great. Putting's been great. Like I don't know. Talk to me why you're on Seppi or thinking about Seppi.
So part of that is the approach too. He's been extremely good, especially the last 12. He's second in this field, strokes gain approach the last 12 rounds. Pretty sound at just about every key stat we are targeting this week, except the 100 to 125 yardage bucket, which, I can live with that if that's your pretty much one weakness here. That doesn't mean that he can't go out there and do well in that area too, or kind of work around it. Missed cut at the PGA Championship, but he ran off 4 straight top 20s, including the Masters before that. So I think he's back in the mix this week. And I didn't really know. I actually didn't really follow a ton of content this week, so I didn't know he was super popular. But I do see why. I do like Straka this week.
Yeah, been rather popular, but there's a lot of other guys in this range that I got to first, and I still might get to them. Like I said, I probably have enough room to make one more addition to this card. So
yeah, and he's not at a price where it will extremely haunt you if you do or don't. So let's see. So down the board, 50 to 1, we got Seabez, Christian Bezadenhout at 51, Keegan Bradley, another one of your boys. Billy Horschel at 55, along with Denny McCarthy and Thomas Dietrich, my boy. Aaron Rye, 60 to 1. Akshay is at 60 to 1. Austin Eckroat. Then we got Kim, then we got Rose, and we got Taylor Moore, all at 60 to 1. So, Jack, this is where things really spice up for me because I've got 3, possibly 4 in this territory. So I'll let you go first. If you want to kind of bounce them back and forth, we can, because we got quite a few here I think we both like.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a busy range for your boy already, and could even be another addition possibly. Christian Bezadenhout, 55 to 1. This feels like a really good spot for Seabez, and he's been really consistent. I don't know if he's like a very known commodity outside of like the niche golf gambling community, is how I put it in my article, but he's been really good all year long. He's got 4 starts outside of the top 30 and 14 worldwide outings this year. 2 top 21s in each of the last 2 times he's been to Colonial Country Club. Putts the absolute lights out, man. He's 9th in strokes gained putting over the last 24 rounds. One of the best bent grass putters in the entire field, too. Really good with his wedges. Rates out really well from 100 to $125, 125 to 150. And obviously, there are some off the tee concerns. That's like the real big red flag in Seabez's game. Like he loses strokes off the tee basically every week, but it's really just because of his distance, at least this season. Like his average driving distance is like 288 yards. He's one of the shortest guys on the PGA Tour. But I actually looked at his profile, Joey, and this is where that old stat comes into play. He's 45th in distance from edge of fairway on tour this season. So for a guy who's like, I think he's 137th in strokes gained off the tee, it's usually not because he's missing very big. And I feel like on a course where you can club down, he was good off the tee at Hilton Head a couple of weeks ago for the RBC Heritage. Like, I feel like this is a spot where if he can just miss small, he can get away with it. And his irons have been really good lately. His around the green and putting combo is always rather good. I think that's a real good weapon for him on a track like this, as I referenced with some small greens and taking out the bunkers. I think you're going to have to be a little bit more creative with your around the green play this week. I trust Bezadenhout in those areas. So I nabbed him at 55 to 1. I actually was trying to bet him at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson a few weeks ago. And I actually was pretty happy that he ended up WDing, because I thought a birdie fest like that, even with the way he putts, I don't know if that even stylistically is the best spot for him. I feel like when his around the green play can come into effect as well on a course like this, could be a really good spot for Seabez. So I've been trying to bet him in like the last month, and I feel like this is a good spot. So I pulled trigger on him, but I also pulled trigger on a couple other guys in this range. The boy that almost cost me everything at the Valero Texas Open, I'm betting him for the second time ever, Joey. Second time ever. And might go disastrously. The first time I bet him, it went disastrously. But man, I feel like he's been knocking on the door, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happened in Texas, considering the way he played the last time he was in the Lone Star State, and that's Denny McCarthy, man. Nearly chased down Akshay. I think 50 to 1 is a decently fair price. Like, If you go and look at the stats, they don't really, honestly, they don't really make sense because he's not getting a bunch of strokes really with his irons or with the ball striking. It's just short game and putting. He can just go absolutely nuclear. He's a sick bent grass putter. It's almost just kind of like a safety bet because if he went on to win this thing, and I didn't have money on it, I'd be like, duh, like that would have made sense. So I nabbed Denny McCarthy at 55-1. I also nabbed Justin Rose at 60-1. This is a course
Ooh,
that Justin Rose has been really good at. And quite honestly, Joey, veterans have
yeah.
really been good at it. It's kind of been a
He
vet
looked good
style. Like
last week too.
yeah, like Kevin Na has won here. Jason Kokrak, kind of a guy who had been around when he won here. Sam Burns even a little bit, and last year with Emiliano Grillo, like guys who've kind of been around have won this tournament historically. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Rose get his second victory, considering how well he played in both rounds on the weekend. It wasn't just a fluke on Saturday to get him back in contention. He played really good on Sunday as well, and kind of found his iron game for the first time in a while. And like I said, on a course where he's got good history and kind of good vibes at, his putting upside, really good bent grass putter historically as well. I thought 60-1 was a fair price on Justin Rose. So those were the three guys who I already nabbed in this range, but Aaron Rye is super tasty. We texted back and forth about him. I think Austin Eckroat, because of his iron play, could be enticing, although I don't know if he's going to make enough putts to win this thing. Billy Horschel's been playing really good. There's still a 70-1 out there on Taylor Moore. And one thing I forgot to mention off the top, there are kind of similar-ish comps to the Valspar. Adam Schenk was in a playoff at the Valspar and lost to Taylor Moore. He was also in a playoff last year here to Emiliano Grillo and lost. There've been more crossover and comparisons between just that, but Taylor Moore obviously winning Valspar. I don't know if I trust his irons fully, but short game is absolutely splendid. Good distance and good accuracy type of guy. So there's a lot of intrigue around this range, along with Sepp Straka in that kind of bracket above. So this is where I'm kind of toying with who's going to be the last guy on my card. But as I referenced, Seabez, Justin Rose, and Denny McCarthy, all three I'm on this week.
I like it. You won't find me betting Denny McCarthy, but that has.
I understand. I understand.
That does not mean that I think it's a terrible bet. He can definitely win. Yeah, I like the extra digging you did for Bezaidner there because, looking at just his general profile, he's 127th in driving accuracy this year. But then when you really break it down, like the stat that we were talking about last week a little bit, not missing super far, that could be really, really helpful at a place like this. And the rest of his game is looking really good. So he finished 21st, 15th last two trips to Colonial. So my one concern before you even mentioned that was the driving accuracy and not so much the distance. So if you're saying that, I like that. So I'm on Seabez as well at 45-1. I think I got a worse number on him, but nonetheless, we're both on Seabez. Looking at the rest of this here, let's see. I have, definitely the rye bread, the Reuben, the Rachel, the rye bread man. It's the accurate driver for me that, we always talk about. I don't know how many times I've said that on the show. But dude,
anytime it's the approach, it's the accuracy.
You can kind of script what I'm going to say at this point, but this is a really good course for him. Popped up in your models. He popped up in just about everyone's models that I saw. A lot of things are clicking, the bogey avoidance, the greens and reg, the scrambling, obviously, he's also pretty good from the yardage buckets that you've been highlighting here. That we're shooting for, especially from that 200 to 225 yard range. So I really like Aaron Rye here. And then definitely Straka. I think we just talked about him a little bit, but, it's pretty sound in just about every key stat we're targeting here. So 50-1, except from that 100 to 125 yardage bucket. So I do like Sepp Straka, and we just talked about that a little bit. Thomas Dietrich, though, man.
Your other boy.
My boy. I can't So I'm getting real tired of sweating a Dietrich win or start without having any money on it. That's been my life lately here because he has been in the mix, and the short game thing has been mostly fantastic. T4 at Valhalla, T2 at the Houston Open, 3 top tens in his last 5 starts. 21st year last year. I got a fire on it. I have to at this point.
Approach and putting God, that's what he does. Now, I mean, his approach was bad earlier on in the season. He's kind of found it a little bit here, but he puts the lights out.
He does put the lights out, and it is surprising to me that approach is coming around though, because that has been something that hasn't always been there for him, and I think that's really led to his better performances here this season. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Justin Rose, man, was very interesting to me, just especially because of how he looked here recently. But I don't know. I don't know. I might make one more decision in this range, but I'm just not quite sure yet. Those are the main guys that I'm targeting right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So as we keep looking here, where are we at? 65 range. We got Adam Scott, Andrew Putnam, Chris Kirk, JT Poston, Keith Mitchell, Lucas Glover at 70-1. And then Mav McNeely, kind of in a range by himself, depending on the book, 75-1 here. Daniel Berger, probably the largest number you can find on him at 90-1. Lee Hodges, 90-1. Mark Hubbard as well. So kind of starts tailing off a little bit here, but some names, like there's some very interesting names down here. So do you have anybody before we get to the Bombers at 100?
Yeah, I think all these names, quite honestly, are a little bit curious. And I agree. This is kind of the last final range that I'm really looking at before we can kind of just shout guys out. But Andrew Putnam, I've talked about him not a ton on this podcast over like 2 years, but I have mentioned that whenever putting means something, Andrew Putnam is always a guy you should look at. I don't know if I love him at 66-1, considering his form hasn't been all that great, but there is certainly putting upside there. Lucas Glover has a decent track record around here. Always good with the irons. Always good from tee to green. Can he make enough putts? That's kind of my one question, but I do think he's starting to get into form a little bit. Keith Mitchell, just so good from tee to green, man. I don't know if he can make enough putts. His putter's been so bad this year, so bad as of late. Usually bad on Sunday when he can get into contention, but he's interesting from this range as well. Lee Hodges with a really impressive performance last week at the PGA. I actually did like a little bit of deep digging into Lee Hodges on the Monday show, and I prefer, he does really well, Joey, on like driver heavy golf courses with long rough. Like those are kind of his jam, I've noticed. So I don't know if he's going to win this year. I don't know if that's really in Lee Hodges' bread and butter, but I wouldn't be surprised if he played really well in 2 weeks at the Memorial, if he sneaked up and got like a top 20 there. And then I did bite on Homeless Hubs at 110-1 before he got under that 100-1 number. Was right there in the mix going into the weekend at the PGA Championship, gained 9 strokes to the field, Joey, on Thursday and Friday before plummeting on Saturday. Still wound up finishing T26. He doesn't really have like a ton of high-end finishes this year. Had the T3 at the Zurich along with his partner Ryan Brem. His most recent T20 prior to that came at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am in February, but he's been really consistent, dude. He hasn't missed a cut all year long, and in 4 of his last 6 starts, he's gained over 4 strokes to the field. So I feel like Mark Hubbard is putting it together. He also, Joey, gained strokes in all 4 major categories last week for just the second time since 2023. The fact that he did that in, like I said, what's considered to be the best field in golf, I think is really impressive and tells me that Mark Hubbard is getting close. And he had a T9 on this course last year. His irons actually in 5 career trips had never really been good until last year. He gained 7.5 strokes with his approach. The short game's always been good here. I think it's worthy of a flyer of Mark Hubbard at 110-1. So he's kind of the guy I capped my card with, but there's a lot of interest in this range, believe it or not.
Yeah, I remember when it wasn't that long ago, and we were kind of targeting especially you were targeting Mark Hubbard, a few weeks in a row. So we're not that far removed from that time period, though. So I mean, I
Yeah,
could see, I could absolutely see him kind of flash up this week. And same goes for a guy like Adam Shank. Um,
yeah.
you know the
Valspar comp.
Yep. So yeah, I could see that as well. Um, let's see, Lucas Glover. That was one of the people I did see that some people were on. Lucas Glover this week, he's always, when he's rolling, and when he's not, it's a, you never know. But
It's the
yeah,
putter.
this is a pretty good. It's the putter, yeah. But he had
And
it cooking for a minute. He had it cooking for a little bit,
no, he
but
did, and he's showing signs of life with the putter here recently too. It's just he hasn't fully put it together for like 4 rounds enough yet, but I do think Lucas Glover is getting close. I'm keeping a keen eye on my boy Lucas Glover. And I will say, it's supposed to be really hot this week. We know, of course, about his swamp ass situation that happened in Memphis, so maybe he likes playing in the heat. Shout out to Lucas Glover's pants for surviving that day. Shout out to Lucas Glover for winning me some money that day. Maybe he just likes it when he's absolutely dripping from head to toe. I don't know. He's getting close. I don't know if it's this week, but I wouldn't blame you if you did hop on.
Lucas Glover swamp ass outright. Lock it in. All right. Names to shout out names now, I guess, since we're at the 100 mark.
Yeah.
Unless you have like one guy that you're really liking, like 101 and up. I mean, I guess the one guy we should mention before we just start shouting names, at least in my opinion, is Emiliano Grillo. Defending champ is 170 to 1.
I mean,
Like that's
great number, but dude, have you been seeing what he's been up to? And like,
I
listen,
no, I
I was
do
a
not want
Grio.
to know.
I was a
No, go
I
ahead.
was a I was a Grio stan at the beginning of the year. And he's really lost it since the end of the Florida swing. The putter's gone back to being terrible. The approach has still been okay, but he's been losing big off the tee. He's not losing from with his ball striking abilities like he was earlier on in the year when I was betting him. So I'm not really encouraged by Emiliano Grillo right now. It's a good number. I'm just not really encouraged by his game.
Yeah, that is totally fair. I don't think he's given us any reason to be encouraged. All right, Jack, before I cut you off there, do you have anybody in mind that you are going to bet without just shouting names, or somebody that you might consider?
No, I mean, I really think my card is going to be ending with Mark Hubbard at 110 to 1. There's a couple names that caught my interest though. I can just jot them out real quick. There really weren't all that many. Um Going through it here. Justin Lauer 200 to 1. Good with approach, good with the putter, good with Ben Grass. I worry this field is too good for him to actually win. I feel like it's probably a better like top 10 or top 20 bet. If you look at like where his real high end finishes have been this year, it's like Corrales and the Mexico Open, which are both worse fields than this. So I think he can top 20. I don't know if he can actually win. Charlie Hoffman, 250 to 1, kind of the same situation. I don't know if he can actually win, but has astonishing course history around here and like hasn't been terrible in 2024. And we're not that far removed from him nearly winning the Waste Management Phoenix Open. So I think, getting him a 250 to 1 wouldn't be crazy. Um, that's really it though, man. I crazily enough, I looked at Kevin Streelman because he's 600 to 1.
Don't
And
do it to yourself.
I mean, I know I know it's Streelman, but the Valspar comp, I was more so, I don't know if he can actually win, but I think maybe like a first round leader bet, maybe. I don't know. But
Mm,
that's really it for me in the plus 100 range. No one really has my eye from here this week, if I'm being honest. You got
what's
anyone?
what's going on with Joel Damon?
What is going on with Joel Damon? I'll pull up his profile here real quick. This
Not
wouldn't be a terrible spot for Joel to win.
Do you know his number is insane.
There's probably a reason, I'm guessing, for that.
He's 500 to 1.
It's a big number. Joel doesn't have he finished T28. He played with a partner. Individually, he doesn't have a top. He hasn't finished inside the top 49 since the Players. That's his only
Hmm.
top. That's his only top 40 of the year.
I don't even know if he has it in him to actually like win. Like I think he's got the stuff. It's just
Does he?
I
Does
don't
he?
know.
I don't know if he has the stuff. I just think he kind of turned into a star because people liked his character.
Yeah, that's true too. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like he doesn't take it as serious as some guys.
I don't know. I think it's a constant back and forth with him. I'm not encouraged. It's not a bad number if you
No, it's not
feel
a bad
strong,
number.
if you feel passionately about it, it's not a bad number.
I don't feel passionate enough, but maybe $1. Nate Lashley, 270-1.
Nasty Nate?
Nasty Nate is kind of interesting. Looking at your model, Jack,
Did he rate out high?
he's rating really high.
He did.
He's ninth in one of the models, at least in like the value range. And I'm just looking at strokes gain approach, the bogey avoidance, a lot of these categories. The one category looks like he doesn't fare well in is he's not a great, hasn't been great lately. Strokes gain putting on bent grass. So, I mean, he hasn't been great at Colonial. It looks like either. I'm not looking at any of his finishes though, but fairways gained, man, third in this field. So I don't know. He's kind of interesting here.
Yeah, little. I completely forgot he finished T3 at Torrey Pines this year. Finished T3 at the Farmers. That's pretty impressive.
I don't remember where I don't remember where he does well, but I just remember that like recently he did have some where he like kind of popped.
Dude, I think it's, hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. I'm pretty sure it's Rocket Mortgage. Is it Rocket Mortgage? He won Rocket Mortgage in 2019. That's where he won.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So I
don't know.
So he missed the cut at the Byron Nelson, 38th at the Zurich Classic, missed the cut at Punta Cana.
That's not good.
T39 at Valero Texas Open, the T21 at the Houston Open, Texas Children's Houston Open, T13 at the Players. So, and then before that, it was like a miscut stretch, and then he's T3 at the Farmers. So
guy's random as fuck.
He's so random, dude. But like that's why I'm like, well, if I'm gonna take a little stab down here, like why not take a flyer?
Not terrible.
I don't know. Yeah, not terrible. 270. Other than that, man, I really don't have too much interest in any of these guys that are over 100-1, except possibly Adam Shank. Other than that, dude, I don't see anything I like. So, do you have any like props or anyone else you want to talk about?
So, I do worry about Colin Morikawa. I actually do have some concerns about him. I don't know why. First round leader, Colin Morikawa, kind of seems interesting to me. 25-1. I don't know. That's just kind of what's been on my mind the last couple of days. I don't know why. It's kind of maybe my like mental hedge because I'm not getting to him at that 14-1 number, but he's playing early tomorrow morning. If it doesn't get rained out, it could be soft conditions. I could see him going low early. So I don't know. I was kind of thinking about that. Maybe Streelman, first round leader, but other than that, no real props or anything outside of that. What about you?
I'll have something. I got nothing now because I didn't even look at any props. But first round leader, I would say that's actually a really good call on Morikawa. You're going to take that maybe instead of an outright because I feel like he's going to come out fire in this week, just being that he has a bad taste in his mouth after that final round. I can guarantee it with all the birdie chances that he missed. So, yeah, I could absolutely see him coming out strong here first round. Other than that, man, I'll let you know on probably send you a message or put it out there on X if anyone wants to check that. I don't think I'll have an article this week. It's a little late for me to be writing, but yeah, man, one and done. Good week last week from each of us. It's obviously that we're doing the double points this year, so I am happy about what happened, but I was also a little bit salty because I hate doing that because I thought I was pulling for you. Don't get me wrong. I was really pulling for Bryson to pull out that outright. But like I was just sitting there like, dude, how can you have him as a one and done and not have him as an outright? Like this is so fucking stupid. What are you thinking? Like just pass on Brooks. I should have just passed on Brooks and went with Bryson altogether, but that's not what I did. Jack, I believe you still have first pick. I don't know what the score is.
Yeah, I am still up. Like I said, I don't have them in front of me, so I'll tally stuff when I go back. Or I think I actually tallied before the PGA Championship, so I'll let you know. I am still ahead though. I thought about it this week, man. This was a little bit of a tough one. Because the top is just there's like four good players, and then it's really wide open from there. I'm going with Tony Finau though.
Fina, okay.
Yeah,
I like that pick because that was a strong candidate for me as well. I don't think I've picked Harris English.
I don't think you have either, but I've sent you the list so many times that I
I
really hope
know.
you don't have Harris English. You might as well just text me a backup plan just in case.
All right, well, I'll go with the Harris English for now, and if that's not good,
I'm pretty sure he's open for you though. Pretty sure.
I want to say I don't remember using him this year at all. If he's not open, I'm pretty sure Bezadenhout is also open. So those would be my two guys this week for the one and done. Well,
For sure.
one being Harris English, backup plan, Seabass.
Perfect.
Yeah, Jack, let's get it. Let's get it. It's going to be a lot of fun this week. I will probably be tuning in for fully tuning in for one round this week. It's a tough week. It's Memorial
It's
Day
one of
weekend.
those.
So and it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully everybody has a good weekend, cooking out, grilling out. Shrimps on the bobby if you're betting Emiliano Grillo. But yeah, Jack, enjoy yourself, man. It should be a lot of fun.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully we can get a dub. It would be rather nice to cash ticket. I think I haven't won since last time they were, well, not the last time. I was so close with Jake Knapp, but since they had their back to back in Texas with the Houston Open and the Valero Texas Open. So the Lone Star State's treated me nice. Hopefully I can keep it rolling. But yeah, make sure to go and give me a follow on X at Jack Bushman too for coverage of the Charles Schwab Challenge here this week. Very fortunate to have boots on the ground. Make sure to go and show some love to my boy Joey as well. Find him at Joey Knows Nothing, and check out the show's page too at On Tap Golf.
There you go. Appreciate you, Jack. Thank you for the shout out. Good show tonight, my friend. We will be back next week. Hopefully, we didn't really talk about that, but pretty consistently, we're doing it every week. And if not, you will have a preview show here coming up with Ross. So, with that said, we are Golf on Tap. Good luck this week and enjoy yourselves.